we're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's October 31st here in Seoul. I'm Shin Yoon, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Choi Ji-hee.
Good morning, Yoon.
And Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Nice to see the baby right there.
Yes, yes. We'll talk about that later.
All right. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. A recent health survey conducted by the KDCA found out that the number of females who drink heavily is increasing these days. Over the past 10 years, the percentage of heavy drinkers among men came down from 25.1% to 23.6%. But for women, the proportion went up from 7.9% to 8.9% in the year 2021. The KDCA defines heavy drinkers as those who drink more than 2 times per week, or men who drink at least 7 shots or glasses of hard liquor. For a woman, that's more than 5. Now, moving on to our second story. Ever since we've detected the first case of lumpy skin disease a few weeks back, 67 farms nationwide had culled more than 4,300 of their cows. And lumpy skin disease doesn't affect humans, but it's highly infectious among cattle and buffalo and leads to skin lesions or even death. Because it's so infectious, some farms have decided to just kill off their livestock. To that, animal rights groups have hit the streets demanding for better protection for livestock. They've also asked officials to speed up their vaccination campaign. And moving on, a new bill to consider removing the chance of parole for criminals sentenced to life imprisonment has been passed by the cabinet on Monday. The Ministry of Justice said they have advocated such an amendment to the criminal law and are now waiting for lawmakers to officially pass this. Now, under the current law, felons originally sentenced to life can be granted parole after 20 years, but officials deem stronger measures are needed to prevent severe crimes from happening and to dampen the public's fear over released criminals for reoffending. Now, based on what we just found out right now, what do you think about this news story, Walter?
I'm sure it's very hard to take me serious right now, but I have studied this area of criminology, and I know that the extending the parole is not going to decrease the recidivism, to be honest with you, because they're still going to carry out the crime. So I don't think this is a bill that needs to be passed straight away. It is a step in the right direction. However, I would say there are more important things. For example, what's been happening recently with the attacks in Seoul and also Busan. Those areas need to be addressed very quickly, and the punishments are the problems at the moment. So I don't think this is as important as fixing the punishments first.
So you don't think that it would necessarily prevent crimes or lower the rates of recidivism?
I believe so. I believe it won't, no.
But I think if I play devil's advocate here, some people are very assured in one way that the officials are taking this measure because they don't want to see hardcore criminals come out from prison. For instance, you mentioned before during the rehearsal, like sex offenders like Cho Do-sun coming out and stuff like that. So I do understand that there's an angle like that. What do you think?
Well, due to the recent rise in violent crimes in the country, so there's been a call from the public to reinstate the death penalty in the country because we haven't been executing it for years now. However, since there's a growing trend globally to actually abolish any death penalty in any country, I believe that the other better alternative would be to imprison people, life sentence them, but have no possibility of parole. I think I always say this, but there should be a balance between punitive and preventive measures. However, a strong enough penalty is necessary to really deter offenders so that it reduces recidivism as well as to cause a sense of fear among potential criminals.
So you're on the side that this is actually taking a hardline measure to prevent crimes.
Right.
All right, valid points there. And that was our news feed for this Tuesday. Let's head on into our discussion topic of the day. From our generation, traditional gender roles have been breaking down. We've seen a great shift in the way we perceive which gender should do what, especially at home. And to find out more about what we'll be discussing today, take a listen to what my AI voice secretary has to say.
Who should stay at home after marriage? The wife? The husband? Does it matter? Well, it doesn't seem to matter among the younger generation in Korea. Survey company Hankook Research asked those born from the years 2001 to 2004 whether they thought a specific gender should focus on house chores and taking care of a child after marriage. Only 1 out of 6 men said this type of role should be dominantly given to women. There were even fewer women who thought like that. Only 1 out of 10 thought so.
Traditional gender roles, that definitely doesn't click with our generation. And how can we back this statement up, Ji-hee?
Well, in the past, traditional gender roles in Korea, they used to be clearly defined where men were considered the main breadwinners and women were really expected to stay at home to mainly deal with household chores and to take care of the children. However, according to a recent survey which was conducted by Statistics Korea, this cultural norm is changing. Now, let's take a look at the screen for the details. So according to recent statistics, as of January 2023, the number of men who were not working due to childcare reached a record high of 17,000. Now, this is a whopping 20% increase from the previous year. However, this number does not reflect the nearly 40,000 fathers on paternity leave, which means that the actual figure could be even higher. And also, the number of men who were inactive due to homemaking hit a 20-year high, with a total of 215,000 men citing this reason. So we really are, through the numbers, we can say that cultural norms are changing.
Right, because in the past, I think it was traditional or stereotypical to think that men would go out and work while they're the breadwinners. Women, on the other hand, would stay home and do house chores. But as we're seeing with Walter, with the baby right on his side, you're the only parent here on the news, Shen team. So could you agree with the stat that Ji-hee showed us? Are we seeing more stay-at-home dads and stay-at-home husbands here in Korea?
Well, first meet Angelina Joel. The reason why I call her Angelina Joel is because my last name is Lee. So if you put 2 and 2 together, then
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie. So yes, nice to meet you all. But yes, I am a father. Not to this one really, but to a real one. But and yes, I can relate. So I'm a freelancer, and one of the benefits of being a freelancer is being able to take on certain projects that may or may not suit my schedule, for example. And though I don't know anyone personally around me who is doing the same, I want to be a part of this movement as well, where it's men are taking more responsibility at home and change the stereotypes of women staying at home and men going out, because sometimes, you know, men aren't just suited to go out and women really want to progress in their career. So I work up to 40 to 50 hours per day. Per week, should I say, and still manage to do little bits that help around the house. Like, in fact, I know this will be a little bit controversial, but I'll be probably abused in the comments, but I actually wish I was a bad parent because they get more rest than good parents. But yes, yeah, I'd love to see changes in this area.
I mean, by the way, you're just hugging Angelina. Yeah. Angelina, right?
Angelina Joel.
Oh, Angelina Joel. I can tell you are a good dad.
Yes,
and I think you mentioned a very good point. Thank you for bringing Angelina in the studio.
Yeah,
Angelina
it wasn't easy.
Yeah. Because she's still an infant.
Yeah, she's still an infant. Maybe she shouldn't be outside.
But all jokes aside, I think this type of discussion is quite prevalent among our generation because, as I mentioned before in the VCR, we are a generation where we want to break down all these gender stereotypes. That's why I would like to find where you guys stand on this issue, starting with you, Ji-hee. Would you be okay if your husband asks if he can stay at home and do all the house chores or take care of the baby and asks you to be the sole breadwinner?
Well, I wouldn't just be okay. I wouldn't mind at all. And I would encourage my future husband, if he wanted to take care of all the household chores and even cooking and taking care of the baby as well, I'd be happy to let him take on the responsibility if it's what he seems like he's better at it. If he thinks he enjoys it a lot more than me, and if he's able to do all the house chores and even taking care of the baby better than me, I would support him. However, there's still social stigma and prejudice, especially in our country, because we have a strong Confucianism foundation where we think that men should be the main breadwinners. It's a tradition, really. So some people may see house husbands as people who are incompetent or irresponsible of their family. However, if my husband-to-be can really withstand this prejudice and be proud of what he's doing, I would support him wholeheartedly.
100%. I completely agree with you there because, as you mentioned, we are in a society where Confucian roots are still here, and also the concept of patriarchy that is still prevailing, which is why a lot of people, especially men, don't feel too confident, I believe, in the sense that they're confidently saying that they're stay-at-home dads. But what are your thoughts on this, Walter? I know at the moment you're dividing the work with your wife, but would you be okay if your wife asked you to be a stay-at-home husband and dad?
Actually, this is something that my wife and I have been talking about because she goes back to work, I think in February next year. Anyway, and I have a lot of jobs that, require me to work at home. And so when I'm working at home, I could take the kid to daycare. I could do my best to clean the house, and to be honest with you, I'm the better cook. And if she's watching, you know that. But yes, in reality, once she goes back to work, she's actually earning like so much more than me, even though I have like a lot of jobs going on. So the biggest thing for us, for our daughter, not this one, is to have a big influence on her. And in Korea, a lot of grandparents actually take care of their children. And though I love my grandparents, not my grandparents, my parents-in-law, I want to be the bigger influence on my baby. And that means I need to stay home and be with her. So this, even though Jihee mentioned the stigma that's behind it in Korea, I do want to help change that because I think some people are just suited to, look after children, clean the house and cook.
And I think you guys mentioned both a very important point. It's that whoever wants to do it should do it. Like, it no longer should be restrained to which gender you fall into. It should be if you're better at the job, whether that be house chores. And mind you, we all know that house chores is actually the most arduous thing to do.
Right, but you never get paid for it.
You never get paid for it. And even taking care of the baby, you could relate to that.
Yes, you definitely don't get paid for it.
Exactly, but it all comes down to how you communicate with your partner at the end of the day, whether you want to be a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad. Now let's find out how our global viewers think about today's discussion topic. So here's what 3 of them had to say on our topic of the day. Take a look at the screen to find out. Let's start with Defeat. He said, "My dad is a retired commander. It's a good thing because he stays at home and helps taking care of my younger brother when I'm living away with my husband." Tasmia said, "I think stay-at-home dads are awesome because there are many children who just want to spend time with their dads more than their moms." Little Bear said, "There are more than there was when I was a kid. I think it's good to have either parent stay at home. You can raise them on your values and raise them right, not a stranger." And we're now going to include a millennial who's actually a stay-at-home husband in our talks. Stay in tune for this live interview. We're now going to talk to a fellow millennial stay-at-home dad. It's actually our panel now, Song's husband, Danny Chung. Now he'll be speaking on behalf of other millennial stay-at-home husbands here in Korea. Welcome, Danny.
Hello, thanks for having me.
All right, Danny, pleasure to have you here. I'll ask you the first question. When and why did you decide to become a stay-at-home husband?
Well, it happened this year, May of this year. I quit my day job, and the primary reason was it gave me a chance to have a last go at pursuing my dream as a musician.
That's really amazing. So you decided to talk it out with your wife Nell, our fellow panel, to decide to stay at home, right?
Yeah, well, the big, and that too, and the big thing was my wife landed like many jobs. Like Walter was saying, how he has a lot of jobs. She landed a lot of jobs this year. And so I was kind of getting burnt out from the job I was doing. And so we agreed, okay, how about, for the rest of this year, I'll take care of more of the house chores while I can, have the, privilege and time to focus fully on music while she provides, most of the income.
Well, you seem like a lucky man, really. But,
Really?
yeah.
I'm very lucky this year.
I mean, it's not been long because you said it was only since May, right? So it's only been half a year. What do you think are the pros or cons of staying at home?
Probably the biggest one is time and energy. I have all the energy to focus on one thing, which is for me, is to release an album. And another thing is because my studio where I work on music is literally like a minute from our house. I can just go there whenever I want. I can go back home to help clean or prepare the meal when she comes back from work or that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Niall talks about you all the time. Mostly good things, but she complains every so often. But how do you think society has perceived stay-at-home like husbands or dads like yourself before and also now?
Yeah, as you guys mentioned before, obviously in the past it was viewed more in a negative light, just because the traditional role of a husband was to be the provider or the breadwinner. But I'd say, these days, especially because of COVID and also technology and the internet, there are so many, different job opportunities and different ways to make money that doesn't require you to actually go to a company or work full-time as a, employee. You can be self-employed at home or take on, a whole bunch of random jobs that the internet provides. That can all be done, at home on your computer. And so, I'd say, because of that, I feel like married couples, maybe not just full-on stay-at-home dads, but both. I feel like we're in an age where both couples can work like part-time and still be present at home, for similar periods of time.
Exactly, I completely agree. And what's really respectable about your relationship, I mean, we talk about it amongst ourselves, is that you guys seem to have very healthy communication. And I think that's the key in order for whether it be double income families or like stay-at-home dads or even stay-at-home moms to stay at home. But I do think that there is a societal problem, which is there are still that stigma behind which gender should do what, specifically at the house. And do you agree that there is some type of social stigma? And what do you think needs to be done to break down these gender stereotypes?
Of course, yeah, especially people who grow up traditionally, the woman is to take care of the home and the man is to go out and work. But, we define men's role as being the provider a lot. But I realize, being a provider doesn't just mean, providing financially. There's so many other ways, a man or anyone can provide for a family, whether it be emotionally or as one of the comments mentioned, just being there physically. Yeah. For either your wife or if you have children. I mean, I don't have children yet, so that's not the case yet. But I heard, a lot of, because men are usually kind of obsessed with their work, and sometimes you work so much that you're never home. The children can, it can badly affect children who don't have much time to spend with their dad. And so, I think being able to provide, provide your presence is also a big thing. So if we can maybe change our the way we think about the word provider, maybe it can free some men up to not fully be obsessed or not fully be consumed by having to provide only financially.
Not be limited to the so-called gender stereotypes. Danny, it was a pleasure talking to you today, and it's always happy to see like News Gen family on our show. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, now I would like to take our last part of the discussion to talk about how we should do or what we should do to better break down gender stereotypes and to ensure a better social atmosphere for men to become stay-at-home husbands or dads. So what are your thoughts on that, Chihi?
Well, I think we should first of all be more accepting of fathers who take paternity leaves, because I heard that men who take paternity leaves, there is still unspoken pressure within the corporate environment. So we should really even be accepting and encourage them a lot more, and also perhaps regulate and incentivize paternity leaves as well, and also make better use of modern media as well, and really showcase a lot more husbands like Walter to really make it a norm and normalize it as a social norm for fathers to stay home and take care of their children.
I agree. Social infrastructure is key in order for that to happen. What do you think, Walter?
Yeah, I think that this social stigma is quite annoying. To be honest with you, even if someone were to, look down on me, I wouldn't care, to be honest with you, because I have a role to do with my family, and if it means taking care of them, doing less work, then so be it. And to be honest with you, we shouldn't also forget about there are some families out there that who like the traditional roles as well, where the father goes out and the mother stays home. There are still tons of people like that. but it shouldn't be looked at when it's the opposite example, when a father stays home and the woman goes out. That's the biggest problem here. But, you know, I do want to say that it's not easy to be a father and that, you know, it takes a lot of time. And I know that we work and when we go home, we want to rest. But remember, taking care of a baby is also a full-time job. And you need to help out as much as you can if you are a father or a person also looking after the baby.
Yeah, it shouldn't be just stick down to a gender just because you're a woman, you have to take care of the child. I don't think that no longer sticks with our generation because our generation is about accepting all these different open values and most importantly, widening our perspectives. And in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Choi Ji-hee.
Thank you.
And Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
Yeah.
News Generation.